Good morning. It lives. Thank you. For those of you new to FPC, my name is Rivers-Wright. I oversee administration and publicity and membership here, and I was out and down with COVID for the first time in my life for about 25 days in March, and so I'm just kind of getting back to it. And before I say our welcome and announcements, I would like to just say thank you to everybody who stepped up and stepped in. There's so many of you. Our musical director, Chris, did a lot. I'm going to highlight him. But June, as our worship committee host, was fantastic, and everyone just took on a lot of work, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm so impressed and grateful. Thank you. Terrific place to work. So, welcome to the First Parish Church of Stowe and Acton, a welcoming and spiritual community. I told you who I am. For those visiting FPC for the first time, we welcome you. Please let us know you were here by filling out one of our visitor information cards in the pews. They're either bright yellow or sort of a cream color, and hand it to an usher, drop it in the plate, or hand it to me, and I'll be at the back. If you'd like a large print order of service or hymnal or an assisted listening device, please ask our ushers. Our assisted living, we all say that, don't we? I don't know why we're all thinking about assisted living at this point. We're all such young'uns. Assisted listening devices are actually little radios. So if you need to leave the sanctuary for any reason, crying baby, gotta go pee, whatever, you can bring that with you and listen in from anywhere in the building. Nursery care is available during the service. And for kindergarten through grade 5 children, the children usually attend the first part of the service and then leave for classes. After the service, please join us for coffee and conversation in our fellowship hall, which is down the hallway here, down the elevator or a set of stairs at the other end of the building, or in a breakout room if you're joining us online. I'd like to point out a couple things in your order of service. There's lots of announcements and details of upcoming events. In particular, what's missing is this coming Thursday, April 17th, is our special potluck Vespers service for Maundy Thursday. So I'm going to just read a quick description of that. Bring a vegetarian and nut-free soup or salad for our potluck, and join us in Fellowship Hall for a dinner church take on our traditional Maundy Thursday Vespers, led by Lisa Fagerstrom and Chris Hossfeld. We'll break bread together, sing, and share in what it means to celebrate the Last Supper in remembrance. So our minister, the Reverend Dr. Cindy Landrum, is currently on sabbatical till the end of April. And during this time, Reverend Susan Sahusky Brown is our sabbatical minister. And we also have a number of guest speakers. Today's worship committee representative will introduce today's speaker after this special announcement from our stewardship committee.
Morning. The Stewardship Committee wants to express our deep gratitude and appreciation to everyone who contributed to the 2026 pledge drive. We raised over $363,000. Great accomplishment. Knowing the pledge amount helps our board plan next year's budget, which will be presented at our annual meeting in May for your approval. Your continued support of this community is essential to ensuring we continue to offer the diversity of programs, support our incredible staff, and maintain our lovely facility. FPC is a sanctuary to many of us during this time of turmoil. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Osenar. After 9 years of coming to FPC, I signed the membership book following Reverend Cindy Landrum's winter solstice sermon, in which she shone a light on the inclusivity of our faith, saying, we come from all these different traditions, and we can hold the diversity in this space. We can hold the diversity within our own souls, that you can be at one moment a worshiper, another moment a skeptic, and in another moment an explorer, and all of those can reside in the same soul here in this faith. It is a great honor for me to introduce a beloved friend, godmother to my daughter, Zemzem, social justice mentor and soul sister, Anela Kruščica, who will be giving today's sermon. Before ethnic nationalism led to genocide against the Bosniak community, Anela's grandmother quietly and defiantly taught Anela to embrace her Muslim faith. Displaced during adolescence, overwhelmed and angered by the atrocities of war, Anela dedicated her life to serving women, children, victims of war, refugees, and vulnerable communities. Through her international efforts to create a more connected world, Anela's polyglot skills are most striking in her capacity to speak to people's hearts and gently expand their openness to others. Today, Anela shares a window into how her merciful, compassionate Muslim faith connected her with community and healing. And now I'm going to read the opening words by Ilhan Omar. We must see each other's struggles as our own, and their success as our success, so we can speak to our common humanity. And now while Shana lights the chalice, I will share these words by James Baldwin for the chalice lighting. One discovers the light in the darkness. That is what darkness is for. But everything in our lives depends on how we bear the light. It is necessary, while in darkness, to know that there is light somewhere, to know that in oneself, waiting to be found, there is a light. What the light reveals is danger, and what it demands is faith. Please rise in body or in spirit for hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Good morning. My name is Shana Garr, and I'm going to lead us through the covenant and affirmation. So thank you for continuing to stand. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I'll now read the land acknowledgement for today. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded territories of the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pawtucket, and Wampanoag peoples, as well as honoring and recognizing the Black and African people whose unpaid and forced labor built this country and our state. We celebrate and work in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and people of color organizations leading the movement for our collective liberation in line with our UU values. I'll now welcome Anela and Amy back for the Time for All Ages.
If we could have the children and anybody that else who would like to join to come up forward and join us for the story. Today's story is I Am We, a Book of Community by Susan Verde and art by Peter Reynolds. Oh, yeah, that would be easier, yeah. I Am We, a Book of Community. I know it's important to take care of me, to focus on my own breath, my own needs, to be kind to my mind. Sometimes I wonder, is that selfish? How does caring for myself help anyone else? But then I realize that the better I feel inside, the more I can be there for others, my friends, my family, my community, because I do not exist alone. I am part of something bigger than myself. And when we each take the goodness and self-compassion inside and turn it outward, that is how we make progress and change. How we build, create, learn, and show love, how we care for each other affects the world. I am more than me. I am we. When there are challenges and struggles, I can check on you, you can check on me. We can create a safety net so no one falls. When there is hurtfulness and inequity, we can stand up for each other. We can sit together, march, sing, vote, stronger in numbers, louder in voices, as we all call for justice. When there are differences in thoughts and opinions, we can have a conversation, listening, disagreeing, and agreeing with gentleness, finding the right solution for all of us. When there is shyness and a feeling of not belonging, we can be a welcoming committee, interested and thoughtful, making sure there is a place for everyone. When there are problems to be solved with creativity, I can share my talents and you can share yours. We can combine our skills and ideas to dream up something spectacular. When there are good times, successes, and joy, we can celebrate, show our excitement and pride, and encourage each other to keep on rising. Connection is how I grow. Connection is how we grow. Connected is what we are, part of a worldwide community, diverse and magnificent, kind and accepting, supportive and present, all of us important, none of us alone. I am not just me, I am we. And if we put our heads together and our hearts together, if we keep on caring for ourselves and each other, everything is possible. Thank you for lighting today's chalice.
Let hope abound.
We welcome Kate Hart, lay minister, for joys and sorrows.
Good morning. We didn't receive any online joys and sorrows this week, so we'll just start with those in the sanctuary. Okay, so we'll light our 2 final candles. The first is to remember the cost of war. And as I'm prone to do, I interject a little bit here. When tunes take wing and music fills the air, there's peace and harmony to share. And the last candle is for all the joys and sorrows left in our hearts that are unspoken.
And now Chris will lead us on a meditation, and this is hymn 1009, Meditation on Breathing. And I wanted to acknowledge that part of the reason that this meditation was chosen was because today's topic is heavy and hard, and it's good to center ourselves with breath before we go there.
I invite you all to remain seated if you're comfortable doing that. Let's just take a moment to find our seats. If you put your feet on the ground, feel the ground under your feet. Move back and forth, feel the pew behind your back. Sorry, it's not as cushy as it could be. Just take a deep breath in together and let it out together. Let's do that again. One more breath in and then breathe out. And when you're ready, just join me in singing.
Thank you for that, Chris. Today's reading is by Leslie Takahashi. And it's a shared reading, so I'm going to speak, and then do you have the responses in your orders of service? No? Okay. Oh, they're there. Oh, there. Okay, good. Okay, so I'll say the one, and if you all could say the many. Listening is not an act of the ear, Listening is an act of the heart. Rage is a constant cry. Derision has found his voice. The despair of the fair and faithful speaks fast and often. The whisper of despair grows into a keening lament. Open our memories to those ancestors of our spirits who were love seekers, peacemakers, truth guiders, system questioners, and listen because listening is an act of our hearts. Do not ignore the soul pain of the ones who move through the hardest nights, who face the denial of their rights and the desecration of their humanity. Do not forget those too dispossessed of a language of mastery and the countless forms of life who do not count humanity as their family and yet who are within our larger circle of interdependence. Open our hearts to the true rest that many feel. Open our minds to the anguish of those who need accompaniment. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Russ Hart to speak about this month's plate sharing. Thank you, Russ.
Well, good morning. April is plate sharing month for the Southeast India Project, and I'm here representing Bob and Vicky Tabor and their foundation, which is the Southeast India Project, which I think FPC has probably been supporting since its inception from the very beginning. I think it was 20, maybe 21 years ago, Bob Tabor, a congregant here at FPC, responded to the humanitarian crisis in India when a devastating tsunami struck the East Coast, resulting in a loss of thousands of lives, many of whom were children. Entire fishing villages were washed away, as were the boats and the netting that the villagers used to sustain themselves. Taking the initiative, Bob on his own got his way to India and reviewed the devastation and ended up purchasing a ton of rice and led the efforts to build and rebuild villages, which in many cases meant building more permanent homes. In one case, building a road into the village so the rice could be delivered. I think most people have heard this story by now, but it's still an incredible story that I think is worth mentioning and worth repeating. Bob also made contact with an orphanage, which the original one, which has since closed, and now we funnel funds to a wide home for children where the money is now being directed. This is an incredible story if you think about it. Bob on his own made his way, to India and has continued to raise money. And during that first time he was there, when he was about to leave, a fellow by the name of Father Wendy approached him and said that unless he returned every year, none of the projects would remain. So he's returned every year for the past 21 years with your support. In 2024, last year, we went to the village of Shana Garr, where there were 4 women who requested $100 each for the purchase of pedal sewing machines. These villages still don't have electricity, they don't have running water, so they need the treadle sewing machines. So we were able to fund those 4 machines, and this year, 14 women, it was so successful that 14 women requested money for sewing machines, which we were able to provide. These microloans are just incredible in the ways that they help people. pull themselves out of poverty and begin to accumulate some capital for themselves and pull their children out of poverty as well. We also, this year, looked at some projects that were value-added projects that had to do with taking peanuts that were grown by other groups and turning it into peanut oil. It's a value-added project. We also helped fund some fishing vendors who wanted to have annual physical checkups and wanted to have eye exams, and so we were able to fund those projects, and also to provide them with free eyeglasses. And again, from all of you, we were able to supply toothpaste and vitamins to the kids in the orphanage, which is just incredible. It's like Christmas when we arrive with these boxes, and they're very excited over these simple things. It means a lot to them to be able to be provided with that. So this is all the good that your money does and that your contributions do for these people in Southeast India. And for those of you who have written letters and provided photos and have not picked them up, I'm going to display them on a table after Coffee House, so you can come and pick them up if you haven't gotten them yet. And also I'll have some handouts also so that you can read a little bit more about what the foundation does. I know that Bob and Vicki are really happy to have you all join with them, to have FPC join with the foundation in supporting them, and it's a wonderful cooperation, and I know that they thank you very deeply. Thank you so much.
Could I say something?
By all means.
Well, we helped the family. My name is Marion Scott, and we responded and wrote to a girl who's 15, and she wrote us back this wonderful, beautifully written in English letter. And so we asked Bob Tabor if we could call her. And he said, of course, here's her number. And we had a wonderful conversation with her on Sunday, and she was just jubilant, as were all the children. They all wanted to come and tell us their names and sort of dance and play, and it was a very rewarding conversation. So we will keep this conversation up, and we may call her once a month or something, just for the fun that it brought us all. Thank you.
Thank you, that was beautiful. So I'd like to introduce my dearly beloved friend Anela to come and speak to you from her heart. And before I do so, I want to acknowledge how extremely hard it is to share with a large group, especially a group that you don't know. And Anela can torture me for years later in our friendship for asking her to do so. But I'm extremely grateful for this sharing. Thank you, Anela.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, and good morning, my beloved siblings in faith. Amy, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Anyone that knows you knows just how kind and genuine you are, a true reflection of the compassion we strive in our faith. It's truly an honor to be here with you today. I come before you with a heart full of gratitude for the opportunity to share my journey, a journey shaped by loss, by anger, by questions that consume me, and by the search for understanding. My name is Anela, and I stand before you as someone who has walked through deep darkness, but has found light and healing from faith. There was a time in my life when everything I thought I knew was taken away. I was 17 years old when I found myself in a new country, far from everything that once felt familiar. I was surrounded by strangers, trying to navigate a world that spoke a language I didn't understand. I felt lost, disconnected, and uncertain about everything. In the midst of this disorientation, following questions haunted me. How can there be so much suffering in the world? How could such cruelty exist? These questions burned inside me, and they echoed through every moment of my grief. It felt impossible to understand the reasoning behind such senseless violence and loss. But as much as I wanted answers, my heart was filled with anger. Anger at the injustice, at the senseless suffering, at the lives lost without reason. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a world that made no sense, and I couldn't find a way to move forward. I didn't know how to process this overwhelming anger, and honestly, I didn't know how to process my relationship with God. I had so many emotions I couldn't name: hurt, frustration, confusion. But above all, there was this deep, unsettling feeling that God was distant. The God that I had learned about from my grandmother, the God I had been taught to trust, seemed silent in the face of all this suffering, and it made me angry. How could a loving God allow this to happen? Was God even listening? During those early days of displacement, I found myself grappling with my faith. I was raised in a country where religion was suppressed, where practicing faith was forbidden. In my home, asking questions about religion was rare. But from an early age, I felt a deep curiosity about the world beyond what I could see. I was the first in my family to begin asking these questions. To learn about faith, I turned to my grandmother, who, despite the oppressive government, quietly shared with me the wisdom and stories of our religion. She passed the love and reverence for God that had been a silent part of her life, despite the fear and restrictions. But then something began to shift. I started to look beyond my own pain and frustration. I met other women who had endured unimaginable hardship. They had lost so much. They carried on with strength, with hope, and with resilience I couldn't understand. They became my companions on this journey, and through them I found my first glimmer of peace. These women and I formed a group, and every time we gathered, I was struck by the intensity of their stories. As we spoke and shared, I began to hear things that shook me to my core. The pain they carried palpable, the sorrow in their voices, the helplessness in their eyes was something I couldn't escape. It was if their words painted a picture in my mind, images of trauma, of loss, of things no human should ever endure. There were details in their stories that I couldn't fully comprehend, things that left an imprint on me and my mind that I still cannot fully understand. They spoke of their experiences, the things that they had seen, the lives they had lost, the violence that had been inflicted upon them. And in each word, in each tear, I felt the weight of their suffering, as though their pain had become my own. I found myself listening not just to their words, but to the space between them. Their pain was something I could feel even in silence. It was more than trauma. It was a kind of sorrow that ran deep, something that couldn't be fixed or explained away any simple answer. The faces of the women as they spoke, the way their bodies trembled when they recalled their experiences, were images that became etched in my mind. There were moments they would pause, and the helplessness that filled the air would feel suffocating, like there was no relief for what they had gone through. And I found myself asking again, how can there be healing for this? How do we move forward with this much hurt? It was in these moments of listening, of sitting in the heavy silence that followed their words, that I began something that I hadn't before, began to understand something I hadn't before. Healing doesn't always come from answers. It doesn't come from having everything figured out. Sometimes healing comes from simply being present with one another, from allowing space for pain to exist without trying to fix it, without trying to explain it away. Sometimes healing comes from being there in the struggle, side by side, even when the answers seem impossible to find. Through these women, I began to experience something more profound than the search for understanding. I began to experience faith, not as a way to explain away suffering, but as a way to hold it, to bear it together. I began to learn that true faith isn't about having all the answers. Faith is about finding God not in the absence of suffering, but in the very midst of it, in the connection between people, in the shared experiences of pain, in the compassion that binds us together. These women taught me that love and empathy can heal in ways words or explanations never could. They taught me that healing comes from being willing to walk together, to listen, to hold one another, even when we don't have the answers. We don't have to understand everything, but we can offer our hearts, our hands, and our support, and that in itself becomes a form of healing. Today, I stand before you as someone who has come to believe that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting that even when we can't make sense of the world around us, God is still with us. It's about seeing the face of God in others, especially in their suffering, and realizing that healing often comes through shared compassion, through acts of kindness, and through walking alongside one another with love and empathy. As I share this with you today, I want to leave you with this. Faith is not just about belief, it's about action. It's about finding strength in something greater than ourselves. And it's about offering our hearts, our hands, and our support to those who most need it. Even when we don't have all the answers, we can be a present of peace and understanding in a world that often feels full of pain and confusion. I thank you for allowing me to share my journey with you today. May we all continue to seek faith, peace, and hope, trusting that even in our darkest moments, God's light is always with us. Thank you.
Anela, thank you so much for that gift. And now I'd like to introduce hymn 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Fire.
Thank you for that song. And now I'd like to introduce Anela again to read the words of a mother, Ramiza Gurdit.
Great job pronouncing that name. So, words from one of the Mothers of Srebrenica Association, Ramiza Gurdit. As a member of Mothers of Srebrenica Association, we have been campaigning for justice every single day for the last 2 decades. We have never sought vengeance, and we have never acted with hatred, because hatred is a sign of weakness which we refuse to succumb to. All we have ever asked for is justice and truth. We will never stop fighting for truth and justice. As we women grow older, we feel the weight of responsibility on our shoulders to ensure that our stories and the stories of our loved ones are heard and remembered, and when we are gone, others will continue to fight for justice. I ask all of you to help us with this fight. I stand shoulder to shoulder with you in confronting hate and intolerance, as we know more than anyone else what hatred can lead to if it's allowed to flourish unchecked. Ramiza Gurdit. Thank you.